welcome into the Fan Addict Sports Channel for sports fans by sports fans. It's your boy Coach I. Where all my dogs at? All right, today we're doing a preview of the Virginia Tech Pitt game. This is a crucial game for the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Coastal Division, because both of these teams only have one loss in conference, and whoever comes out on top we'll be able to control their destiny. Today I got in some special people to help me out, some people that know more about the situation, and both schools included. I'm gonna bring them in and I'm gonna let them tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we're gonna get the ball rolling. So let's go ahead and bring in Carter and Jamie. What's going on, Carter?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on. Yeah, like you said, my name is Carter Hill. I work with Fifth Quarter covering Virginia Tech athletics. I'm a freshman at Virginia Tech, also work with our student sports journalism program, 3304 Sports, and do a multitude of different things there. So you cover Virginia Tech football for them and for FQ as well, and have our own podcast called Gobble 'em Up on the Fifth Quarter Network. So, yeah, excited to talk some football. And again, thanks for having me.
No problem. And then my Pitt guy is Jamie. What's going on, Jamie?
Hey, nothing much. And again, yeah, just lucky to have Fifth Quarter Pitt, and one graduated, former Pitt alum, and really just a great opportunity to expand more Pitt knowledge to all the Pittsburghers up here, and having the opportunity to really dive into more Pitt knowledge and Pitt sports. And it's truly a blessing. Just thank you for allowing us to come on today and really discuss this really important game coming up this week.
No problem, man. So there you have it. It's two guys that are part of the Fifth Quarter Sports Account Network on Twitter. One from Virginia Tech, one from Pitt. Both of their ats are below their picture, and they'll be in the description below. All of the information that Carter gave us that'll also be in the description, so you can get at either one of these guys if you want further knowledge on Fifth Quarter or Virginia Tech or Pitt for that matter. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this thing, man. All right. Whoever come out on top this weekend going to be able to control their destiny. So let's go ahead and talk about the offense and the defense, because let's start with the defense. Jamie, Pitt and Narduzzi are known for their defensive prowess. What's your opinion on the Pitt defense this year so far?
So really, I think so far this year, it's been a development compared to last year, where Pitt was really known, especially being number one in the country in sacks, being able to really apply pressure from the four-man front and really not having to blitz as much, where this year, when you lose guys like Patrick Jones and Rashad Weaver, two NFL draft picks going to the NFL, it's really been more of development and trying to figure out how they can bring more pressure. One of the guys that really interior-wise, Kalijah Cansey, I think he's going to be an All-American this year, especially defensive tackle for how he's playing. He's doing really well, but the pressure is really not there as much as last year, especially with their DBs, Brandon Hill and Eric Hallett. Brandon Hill came in halfway through last year and really tore it up, really did a good job against Florida State with an interception and an interception return. A guy that's really talented, but I think it's finally starting to mesh together, because what we saw at the beginning of this year is, they faced UMass. They did a great job, what we expected. Then went to Tennessee. You got to win at Tennessee, but, you give up 41 points, and you saw some creases in the defense. What we're looking at it for a long-term standpoint, a defense that we saw cracks in it, and there was a little bit of crack in the shield. And then just that surprise loss at Western Michigan was.
Yeah, that definitely surprised me.
For us, and especially the fan base, hearing from the fan base was really big. Was really upset. This is, the year that you don't want to have those downfalls. But from that game on, we've really seen Pitt's defense finally turn it back on. Like, we're finally starting to see the Pat Narduzzi defense that we saw from a year ago, where we really got our first challenge against, Georgia Tech, and, Pitt's defense came up with 2 interceptions, had 5 sacks. Talk about just smothering the quarterback and being able to apply pressure. And that's what we're hoping to see more of. And as the season goes on, is that the defense that we're going to be able to see more and more of, where the DBs are finally playing where they should be. Damari Mathis, a guy, it's a 4-year guy, a potential NFL draft pick on the outside. And really what Narduzzi's known for is really putting guys in the NFL from a DB standpoint. We're finally seeing those guys. And then in the middle, a guy like Servassier Dennis, a guy that was out of nowhere 2 years ago. No one was recruiting. No one ever talked about. And this is a kid that is starting to get all conference. And I think that, between last year becoming it was second or third team all conference, this year he's going to be fighting for first team. But it's finally coming together. But you're hoping to see that because they got to come together this weekend, because Virginia Tech is not an easy opponent, and especially in Blacksburg where, Lane Stadium is always rocking. So we're hoping to see more.
Okay, and Carter, going up against that Pitt defense, you guys got I say dual threat quarterback, because I watch him and he's amazing when he's running the ball. How are you feeling about your offense thus far this season? Because you guys have been pretty good as well, and then you're gonna have to face that Pitt defense.
Yeah, actually going into the Notre Dame game last week, the term I used was Virginia Tech's offense had yet to find their identity. After star tight end James Mitchell went out for the season with a leg injury, and they really hadn't found it. You look at the results after that game against Middle Tennessee where he went out. You had the West Virginia game. They put up 21 points. They showed some flashes, but, couldn't really get the job done overall. And then you look at the Richmond game, very discouraging. They did win the game, but when you beat an FCS school, and not even a very good FCS school, by a score of 21-10, that's not going to make the fans feel great, especially about the offense. Now, overall, I like Braxton Burmeister a lot as Virginia Tech's quarterback. Yeah, you could describe him as a dual threat. He's as fast of a quarterback as you'll find in the ACC. The problem is, how healthy is he? He's been banged up since that Middle Tennessee game. Last week against Notre Dame, he went out with a shoulder injury, came out of the game. Backup quarterback Connor Blumrick then came in the game. He then goes out with an injury where he's probably going to be missing some substantial amount of time. And he probably was going to be the quarterback the rest of the game, because if you look on the sidelines, Braxton Burmeister was probably not healthy enough to be playing. He very clearly could not feel his arm. He was taking, he was painkilling his way through the game, if that makes sense. And, he came back out there in the fourth quarter, and just because of the Blumberg injury, because there is such a big drop-off after really Burmeister, and especially after those two guys, he comes back in and he leads the charge down the field and gets in the end zone and, what should have been probably a game-winning touchdown. So the kid's fearless. There's no denying that. And he's going to be a guy that is this weekend. Justin Fuente confirmed that today in his press conference. So he's going to play this weekend. He will be the starter. But we really don't know how healthy he is. So that's a huge question mark there. Yeah. Receiving wise for Virginia Tech, Tavion Robinson, Trey Turner, two huge threats. We hadn't really seen any of them break out at the same time at this year to this point. Tavion Robinson had a breakout game against West Virginia. Trey Turner actually did it against Richmond, was kind of one of the few bright spots of the offense in that game. And then the running game for Virginia Tech has been something that it's a position where it has a ton of potential. They haven't really shown all that potential so far, in my opinion. Raheem Blackshear's the top guy. He can make plays when he's in space. They can throw the ball to him. He can make plays. He can make plays in the backfield as well. And then behind him, you got guys like Jalen Holston, who's been around this is his fifth year, I believe, at Virginia Tech. And then you got Keyshawn King. He's going to be a guy who did go down last week, but if he's healthy, he'll also be in the mix. And then actually, to some Tech fans' surprise, you did see true freshman Malachi Thomas get in the game last weekend as well. So you could see 4 running backs play next week for Virginia Tech, and that will be interesting to see what that dynamic is back there. But Raheem Blackshear is the guy, and then you got guys tight end position. You got Drake Julius, you got Nick Gallo, who are trying to, they can make plays, but they're not what James Mitchell is, and they're trying to fulfill that role the best they can. And then even guys in the slot that can move. Raheem Blackshear out there, Tavion Robinson in there, or even true freshman Dwayne Lofton. So there is certainly some playmaking ability for Virginia Tech's offense. The offensive line has been pretty solid to this point so far this year. The rough games were when leader Silas Janzi was out. He is now back healthy. So if they can stay healthy, that offensive line should be pretty decent. So overall for that Virginia Tech offense, kind of like what I was saying, still a lot of question marks. The potential is definitely there. They easily can put up I shouldn't say they easily can put up a ton of points, but they easily can work a good game plan, drain the clock. I see them doing something similar to what they did against North Carolina earlier this year. They can go quick. They can also, wait 40 seconds in between snaps, and that's probably what they're going to do this weekend. So that Virginia Tech offense is certainly something you can fear, but it hasn't exactly lived up to some of the expectations.
Okay, so let's flip the coin and talk about the Pitt offense versus the Virginia Tech defense. So what time is the game this weekend? Do you guys know?
It's a 3:30
I believe it's
3:30.
3:30
okay.
kick, yeah.
I was just saying, trying to win. First of all, I believe that because of the pandemic year 2020, when you have a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen and true sophomores, going on the road early in the season is a huge deal. You know what I'm saying? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jamie, Pitt played Tennessee at Tennessee, right?
Yes, they did, and really, I mean, that was a tough, a tough scene, especially Neyland Stadium, with plenty of noise and a great fan base that was there. I mean, that was a very impressive game, and really tested.
So, and I'm thinking the same thing when you go to Lane Stadium, and just like Carter said, he's probably going to be in the house making a lot of noise with the other students. Do you worry any about Pitt's offense and any like false start, illegal procedure penalties with the atmosphere at the beginning of the game starting slow, causing a problem?
If this was a younger team, I'd say even last year I would have. But really, I think the difference will be this year after watching how good Pitt's offense really moved on Tennessee, with 100,000 fans. I think it's going to be. I think Pat Narduzzi will have this team ready, and I think that if Pitt hadn't failed, I think that would have been a very big concern, especially just being on the road in the ACC. It's certainly not easy, but I think that Tennessee was a really good. Basically a really good stepping stone to where, hey, we went into Neyland Stadium, 100,000 fans, and we put up 44 points, and then had I believe one false start penalty.
Okay.
Just a really clean game. So when you're looking at it, man, it's they should be ready.
And that win is looking better and better each week that Tennessee beat somebody down. Last week, I know it was South Carolina, but they did put up a lot of points on them. So going into Neyland was a huge thing. Being at home in Lane Stadium, that defense, I'm older than you guys, so I'm of the Beamer ball era. So I know Virginia Tech is all defense, all special teams, and that's what I know. So when I watch Virginia Tech, that's what I'm looking for. So how's that defense gonna fare against Pitt this weekend?
Yeah, Virginia Tech's defense so far this year has been, quite frankly, very, very solid. Other than the last 4 minutes against Notre Dame, which were crucial, obviously, and really the first quarter and a half against West Virginia, they've been pretty shut down all year so far. And if you look position by position, the defensive front for Virginia Tech has been very, very solid. They only did get 2 sacks last weekend against Jack Cohn and a pretty weak Notre Dame offensive line, so that is something of a concern. But in weeks past, they've been pretty dominant. Week 1 against North Carolina, 6 sacks. West Virginia, they had 4, maybe off the top of my head. So they've gotten after the quarterback all year long. They're great. They're great tacklers across the board. You look really across the board, guys playing. Jordan Williams, a transfer from Clemson, has had a really, really good year. Amari Barno, who could potentially be a first-round pick, he had a fantastic start to the year. He's leveled off and actually been relatively quiet. So I'm waiting for the game for him to get back going soon, and maybe it's this weekend against a guy in Kenny Pickett that he's seen a lot in his career with how long he's been up there in Pittsburgh. And then you look at guys even like Mario Kendricks and Josh Fuga, and I always miss somebody, but that whole front it works very well as a unit. They can rotate guys in and out, so guys are never tired, and that front's been very solid all year. The best position group defensively for Virginia Tech by far has been the linebackers, and that's Dax Hollifield and Alan Tisdale. Now Dax actually will miss the first half against Pitt. He was thrown out due to a targeting call against Notre Dame. Letter of the law, probably targeting. It's a tough one to, get thrown out of the game. It brings up the question, what should the rule be? But nevertheless, nothing you can do about it now. He's going to miss that first half against Pitt, and that's going to be a big loss. Ever since he's moved back into the Mike position, since he slid back over there after Rayshard Ashby left. That's the position he was recruited at. He's had easily his best year since he's been at Virginia Tech. He had, probably his worst game of the year against Notre Dame, but he still had a solid game. He made some great tackles, missed some open field tackles, but that's also, I feel like you got to give credit to Notre Dame's running backs as well. So it's not all the time on, the opposing player, but Dax will be a loss, and there you're probably going to see guys like Dean Ferguson and Keyshawn Artis who have not taken a ton of reps, both highly recruited guys, but they have not taken a ton of reps there, so that should be a question mark early in the game. Secondary-wise for Virginia Tech, that's your one area of concern a little bit if you're looking at the defensive side of the football. Keontae Jenkins and Devin Hunter and Tay Daly have all been playing in both safety positions, and really it's been Tay Daly the majority of the season. However, he had 2 breakdowns defensively last week that forced him to come out of the game, so we'll see what happens back there. Corner-wise for Virginia Tech, they've been phenomenal this year as well. Dorian Strong, he's building off – oh, yeah, absolutely. Dorian Strong, he's building off of a fantastic true freshman season last year. Dorian actually was – so he out of high school, he's easily the most under-the-radar kid on this Virginia Tech team. His only other Division I offer was Delaware State, and he came into Virginia Tech, became their starting corner, took advantage of an opportunity when the majority of the team was wiped out because of COVID, and he ran with it, and he's had a fantastic start to his career in Blacksburg. And then obviously you got Jermaine Waller, 4 interceptions in 5 games. He's an absolute animal back there. He's going to be a high-level draft pick. Maybe he'll squeak in the first round. We'll see. So overall, I feel good about the Virginia Tech defense. I actually don't love the matchup with how Pitt plays offensively, so that should be interesting to watch. But you got to have faith in that Virginia Tech defense, and I do think Justin Hamilton, their new defensive.
And as you mentioned, Dax being out, we'll see how that affects that Virginia Tech defense, because not only can he play, I'm pretty sure normally the Mike linebacker is one of the leaders of the defense, calling out, what coverages everybody's supposed to be playing and what the offense is trying to do. And then you mentioned Kenny Pickett. Man, Kenny Pickett's been balling. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in America, I think. So with that said, let's talk about some key players that you guys feel have to play well for your team to have a shot. So, Jamie, I'm going to start with you, man. Give me 3 players you feel like they have to play well for you guys to get a win.
So really, I think the 3 players that really make Pitt go, one, obviously Kenny Pickett, a potential Heisman candidate, a player that is playing really out of his mind. I mean, we were waiting for Kenny Pickett. I mean, I think he's got probably the best quarterback coach in the country. He's working with outside of Pitt. And then Mark Whipple, really a quarterback guru, won a Super Bowl with the Steelers, and Ben Roethlisberger. How he's playing right now, his efficiency, 3 consecutive games with 4 touchdown passes. It's absolutely insane how well he's playing. Certainly will be a high drafted quarterback coming out of this year's draft. Number 2, Jordan Addison, a guy that's a potential Blantnikoff award winner. The last time Pitt's had that was Larry Fitzgerald. Again, he is a guy that he's only a sophomore, and someone who is, Pat Narduzzi described him today, even keeled. Sometimes you wonder if he's even got a heartbeat, because he's just so consistent in his preparation and how he runs his routes. And that has a lot to do with the new wide receiver coach, Brennan Marion. I think Brennan Marion is an underrated wide receiver coach and a potential offensive coordinator down the road. For what he's teaching in his drills. It's really incredible to see Jordan Addison really start to take off, which was really hard to really do better than what he did last year. But now he's taking it to another level, All-American status. And lastly, I think really the player that I think that's going to have to really step up, and it's going to be on defense, is Kalijah Cansey. He's been playing extremely well, but I think this is a game where he talked about last week, especially in a couple interviews, where really taking a hold of, the process and continue to be able to develop and really overtake that line. And a guy who's recruited well, and lucky, he has him is, Charlie Partridge, the defensive line coach for Pitt, who's been there a number of years now and has developed a plethora of players now in the NFL. That's really got to be what their strength is on defense. Control the line of scrimmage, and play Pitt football and be physical. That's really what they're known for in the Narduzzi era, is really being physical at the point of attack and following the plan and executing it. If those three players do what they're supposed to and play how the way we know they can play, I think it's, the sky's the limit. And especially the way this offense is playing with the weapons that Kenny Pickett has with Lucas Krull, Taysier Mack, Shockey Jock Louis, Izzy Abanikanda. It's pretty crazy. In my time watching Pitt, I don't know if I've ever seen this amount of talent on the offensive side of the ball, and especially on defense as well.
Okay. All right. With that said, Carter, what are you thinking? The three players that they have to show up, or it's ball game for Pitt?
So number one is probably going to be Raheem Blackshear. We've seen, his playmaking ability. Tech fans last year will remember Khalil Herbert, obviously, and what Khalil Herbert did was what Raheem Blackshear was supposed to do, and he got off to a slow start to the year, and we've started to see him take those steps to be really, I shouldn't say elite, but a top-tier running back is probably a good way to put it. And he was good last week. He's shown some progression week by week, so I'm looking to see how much he can continue to improve this week, and I think this is the week he needs to take that extra step moving forward to be able to beat a quality opponent at home and get that advantage in the Coastal the rest of the way. So that's my first one. My second player is going to be whoever replaces Dax on the defense, because like you talked about, Dax is their leader. He plays the Mike position. He's the one that calls out, what the deal is back there. So he's their leader. He's going to be like a caged animal on the sideline, and I don't know exactly how they're going to replace his production and his leadership out there, but whoever, does replace him, whether it's Dean Ferguson or Keyshawn Artis or a mix of the two, they got to do their best. They got to, be a parachute. They got to, be kind of a stopgap, make sure that, nothing goes so catastrophically is what I'm trying to say wrong, that first half to kind of, prevent this game from not getting out of hand. I'm not exactly worried about that. We've seen that actually between these two teams in years past up in Pittsburgh, but they got to do their best to kind of lock things down back there. I have confidence in them based on, how highly regarded they were in the preseason, and throughout the year, Justin Fuentes continued to talk them up and has said, we should be, we're pretty deep there and we should be in a good position should somebody go down. So now is when they got to back up their talk. So that's my second one. My third one, I'm actually going to go John Parker Roma, who's the starting kicker for Virginia Tech. He had an abysmal start to the year. That's a good way to put it, leading into this Notre Dame game. He actually drilled a 47-yard field goal against North Carolina and then missed a 32-yard field goal. West Virginia missed a crucial 24-yard field goal, and came into the Notre Dame game, hadn't had a chance to kick much. Everyone was thinking, well, what do we got in the kicking game? And sure enough, he shows up and he drills a 53-yard field goal that would have been good from 63. And then he made a 19-yard field goal later in the game, but he's obviously gotten his confidence back. He hasn't missed an extra point. So, is it going to be some inconsistencies at the field goal kicking position, or is it going to be a guy who, shook off some early rust and has, gotten going and can be a reliable field goal kicker? So this game very well could come down to a kick, just like we saw last week. So I'm actually going to go with an outlier here and say John Parker Romo is my third player to watch here if you're Virginia.
I think that's a good call, because in games like this, when both teams coming in, got a lot to play for, got a lot of talent, I think both teams have, when you're talking about physical, I think both teams like the physical brand of football. And it could easily, like you said, like with the Notre Dame Virginia Tech game, come down to a field goal. And if that guy's not on his P's and Q's, Pitt could walk out of there with a win. With that said, man, Carter, you're a current student at VTech, and Jamie, you went to Pitt. What are you guys hearing from the fans on I guess just the whole outlook of this game? Are they overconfident, or are they thinking it's going to be a brawl? Because you guys seem pretty level-headed, but we have our Kool-Aid fans out there that think their teams can't be beat, or you have the fans out there that's always, woe is me, we can't beat anybody. So, Carter, what are you hearing from the other Virginia Tech fans, man?
I just think there's some form of anxiety heading into this one because, I don't know if fans are truly over what happened against Notre Dame. Grand scheme of things, the Notre Dame game doesn't really mean much because Virginia Tech wasn't going to the college football playoff. So it doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, but it was a it was a missed opportunity. Now, going forward, why I say there's some anxiety within the fan base is because, like what I was talking about earlier, is Braxton Burmeister really healthy? Because if he is not, Virginia Tech doesn't really have a quarterback behind them. With all due respect to the guys they currently do have, they have a true freshman in Taj Bullock and then Knox Kadum, who was an FCS guy until the last minute. And they're both quality backups, and Taj Bullock may very well be a quarterback of the future, but he is a true freshman. So they don't have a ton behind him. So that's really the overall just feeling of the fan base this week from what I've seen talking to people on campus, checking Twitter, talking to people outside that follow Virginia Tech football and are fans of Virginia Tech football. I think there's just some anxiety, and you just never know because, Virginia Tech in theory should have an advantage with Pitt coming in to Blacksburg. Whoever wins this game, I'm not going to say is going to win the Coastal because we all know how the Coastal is, but they will be in the driver's seat. So it's a big game for both squads, and I think there's more. I would definitely say there's no overconfidence heading into this one. I think it's more of a just let's wait and see. I think that's more the feeling of the fan base, and that's probably a good way to describe it.
Well, it's funny that you say you never know what you're going to hear in the Coastal because being, I could say a Georgia alum and down here in South Carolina where we it's all Clemson all the time, and then with the SEC fans we always say we don't know what's going to happen in the Coastal. Anybody can win it. It's always up in the air until the last weekend sometimes. I just read that De'Aaron King, Miami, he's out for the season for shoulder surgery. So I think that puts even more, not that you guys couldn't beat Miami or whatever, but that puts even more emphasis on this game. So with that said, Jamie, how's the Pitt Panther Nation, man? Are they confident going in, or are they kind of skeptical? What's going on?
So I think with the Pitt fan base, I think confidence is never a word that they'll ever use.
Okay.
I think it's really just one game at a time. I think that if there's anything from past times that we've seen, each fan, heck, we saw at some point this past week where the ESPN was even talking about Kenny Pickett being a potential Heisman candidate, really entering the conversation, and Pitt fans were like, "Hey, whoa, let's pump the brakes and let's focus on Virginia Tech." So I think that really it's the one game at a time theme, and I think that really falls in line with the football team at this point. One game at a time. 1-0. That's the we not me. That's their hashtag this year because the NLI deal's out there, and it's really about we the team. It's never about me or what my stats look like. It's really we as a team. What can we do as a team to make sure that we're following our path as a group to really achieve some real greatness this year? And the fans are the same way. I think they're definitely focused on this game. And there's definitely not confidence as to, we're definitely going to win this game. It's more of, hey, we got to make sure we prepare. We understand that Virginia Tech's a good football team. And going into Blacksburg, I think the fans are nervous but also excited. But they know if Pitt's not on its game, they won't win.
I got you. So as fans, I know the team every year, every team thinks they can win it all, and they should play that way every single game. But as fans, we see what's going on outside of the lines. Just from the outside looking in, man, since Clemson has had such a hold on the ACC, but this year in 2021, we all can see the chinks in the armor. As fans, are you guys happier or more optimistic about your chances of winning the ACC should you win this game? Or is it just the same as it always is? We always have a chance to win. I'm going to start with you, Jamie, because you guys actually have beat Clemson in this run.
So, yeah, I think really looking at Clemson the way they are right now with so many questions, it really excites Pitt fans. This year we expected Clemson to be really good as it is. Especially when we went into Death Valley and won with guys like Nate Peterman, James Conner, guys like that. I think Pitt was prepared for this year to really go in there, but now to see that there's definitely some questions around Clemson right now. The biggest thing for Pitt at this point, and as the fan base sees, if they take care of business right now, I think there's a clear path to really take on the ACC and win it. And that all comes down to one thing: consistency. Is that, how can they handle consistency and how can they handle success? Because Pitt has received a bunch of notoriety recently for how they've been playing, but can they handle that success? Everyone's always talking about, oh, this guy looks great, this guy looks great, but can Pitt stay focused and really understand, hey, we're not as good as they say we are. We're not as bad as they say we are. Staying focused and even keeled, and I think the fan base sees that as well. And if Pitt stays consistent, watch out. I mean, it just, to watch this team the way it is right now, it's pretty. For the years I've been watching Pitt, this is probably the best team I've seen since the 2009-2010 Dave Wanstead team that won 10 games. I mean, this team's very good.
What about you, Carter? How do you think, or how are you looking at it as a fan and other Virginia Tech fans? Because, like I say, once Clemson lost to Georgia, I think people just said, okay, Georgia's really good. But then you saw Clemson struggle against Tech, and then you seen them lose to NC State. Are you guys cautiously optimistic, trying to get that first ACC championship as well?
Well, I guess it's hard not to be, just because this is the most wide open the ACC has ever been. From a Virginia Tech standpoint, I think it's more just, hey, man, the Hokies they just got to worry, like he was just talking about. They got to worry about week by week, and if they get to the ACC championship game, then great. They probably will have a better chance. Shouldn't say a decent shot, because I still think Clemson's a good football team. I think they'll figure it out a little bit, but they're not the dominant team they've been. So if Virginia Tech gets to that ACC championship game, they're going to have a shot to win it, other than, which is different than these past few years. Whoever is coming out of the Coastal was not going to beat Clemson. You look at that 2018 year where Pitt won the division. I don't think they were even ranked in that game. And if they were 24 or 25. Even when Miami won the division in 2017, they were top 10, and that game was 38-3. And Miami, hit a last second field goal to avoid the shutout, which is, a very Miami thing to do. But 2019,
my brother loved that comment. He's a Miami fan.
So, and then 2019, whoever won that Virginia Tech-Virginia game went to the ACC championship game. Virginia Tech in that game was 24th in the country. Virginia was unranked. Virginia beat them for the first time in 15 years. They go to the ACC championship game ranked 25th in the country. I forget the final score of that game, but they got beat by 50, 60 points. So the ACC championship game is not, in years past, has not been a fun game to watch. This year, it very well could be. From a national perspective, I don't love seeing Clemson fall off, because it gives the ACC, a chance to win a national championship. And with all due respect to Wake Forest, I don't see the Deacs running the table. So even though they are 6-0. So, yeah, from a national – exactly, yeah. So from a national perspective, I hate to see Clemson fall off a little bit. But, from a Virginia Tech perspective, it leaves the door wide open. I think everyone's got to be optimistic about their chances this year. You look down the Coastal Division, Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh, whoever wins this game is going to be the leader of the pack. You can't count out Virginia. They keep on winning close game after close game. They, keep on, somehow some voodoo magic is getting thrown in there, and the opposing team keeps on missing field goals at the end of the game. So you can't count out the Cavaliers right now. I don't know if they're a team that can squeak their way through, but they're still there. Miami, with their quarterback being out, with Derek King being out, I think they're going to be out of the equation. North Carolina is going to need a miracle. And Duke and Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech's still there, but I don't see Georgia Tech making a run, and Duke obviously will not. And then on the Atlantic side, Clemson, I still wouldn't bet against them. They're too well coached, and I think they'll get it figured out to the point where they can win the division. Plus, they get Wake in Death Valley. So Wake Forest is good. I don't know if they will win the division. NC State's good. I don't know if they will win the division. And to Boston College's credit, they've continued to win with their backup quarterback. So we'll see how long that lasts. But just going down the board, you can see the ACC is as wide open as ever, and all those teams should feel a little bit more optimistic about their chances to win the league. But I think from a Virginia Tech standpoint, it's still, let's take it week by week, and if we get there, kudos to you.
Okay. All right, man. All right. It is truth-telling time. We got to do some predictions. So we're going to go. Well, I just want you to tell me how you think the game will play out. and then what you think the final score will be. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go with you, Carter.
So I worry about Dax Hollifield being out in the first half. I already, like I said earlier, didn't like the matchup with Virginia Tech's defense versus that Pitt offense. But, on the other hand, that Virginia Tech defense has been good so far this year. So you can't throw anything out the window. This has probably been my hardest game to pick so far this year. And I haven't actually fully developed an opinion. But as of an hour ago and as of this podcast, I think I am going to lean towards Pitt getting the win in Blacksburg. I just think, with a more experienced quarterback, this is, I think, the fifth time Kenny Pickett has played against the Hokies, fourth start, fifth time. And, that Pitt team, their offense is just, it's the best offense that Virginia Tech has faced so far this season. So it's going to be a real test for that defense with Dax out. There's just too many question marks. I do think it's going to be close. We've seen some blowouts actually on both sides the last few years. And I don't think this one will, go that way, but I do think that Pitt will find its way, out of Blacksburg with I'll say a touchdown to 10-point victory. That's probably what I would say on this Monday evening leading up to that game.
All right, Jamie, what are your predictions on the game this weekend?
Yeah, it's crazy. The last really 2 to 3 games with Pitt and Virginia Tech have been blowouts, and it's been wild, but just going back and forth and seeing how the teams play in Blacksburg and how the teams play in Pittsburgh, and just two great teams. And Blacksburg's just not an easy place to even get a victory. That's why when Pitt does win there, it's something to really clap your hand about and slap yourself on the back, because it's just like, wow, it's Lane Stadium. I think I still think Pitt's offense is going to do what it does. After watching what Georgia Tech did, last week. I thought for sure the brakes would be pumped on the Pitt offense, because I said just watching Georgia Tech shut down Clemson and they losing the game 14-10. I was like, man, is this a real team? That geez, it's going to be hard for Pitt to score points. And watching Jordan Addison, Taysier Mack, Shockey Jock-Louis, Lucas Krull, Izzy Abanikanda, Rodney Hammond, a true freshman, rushed for 100 yards. It's going to be really, really hard to slow down their offense, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what Georgia Tech was.
Okay.
I would stay in the same realm. I think it's going to be a 10-point victory for Pitt. I think they'll score a decent number of points, but I think I think Braxton's going to I think he might not be 100% healthy. I think it's going to be about, he'll probably be about 70-75%. And I think he's just, even with his legs, I think he's going to be able to really produce and really cause some problems for Pitt's defense at times. I really think it's going to be a 10-point victory for Pitt. I could be wrong, but I think it's just, Pitt's going to take care of business just because of the one factor, and that's Kenny Pickett. I just think that what he's doing right now and the way the game slowed down for him and the way Mark Whipple's calling the offense at this point, I just think it's just going to be too much. I think their offense is going to take care of business.
Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned that Georgia Tech game. Just by the way, side note, since I am a Georgia dog, I really appreciate you guys beating Tech like they stole something, because that was my birthday and it was right after we beat Arkansas. So any day that Tech loses, I'm down with it, man. I sure appreciate that.
I'll tell you what, they didn't want to say it at the news conference, but I remember when Geoff Collins, he gave that little half handshake after the 34-20 loss last year. And I know for a fact, Narduzzi, and I bet he let his team know, hey, we're going in there, we're going to take care of business. And when they put up 40-some plus points before the half even ended, oh my Lord, I was like, beautiful. What is going on?
It was beautiful. Oh my God, it was beautiful. I love it. Well, I'm gonna be tuned in, man. I want to see who gets the edge up here in the Coastal. Like I said, once I saw that you guys played this coming weekend, I was like, I got to get some people on, because this is gonna be. I honestly believe, just the way, like I say, hearing the Derek Kings out, I know Virginia is winning, some close ones here and there, but I feel like the Coastal is going to come down to this game here. and if the winner can hold on the rest of the season and not, lose a game somewhere they shouldn't lose a game. So that's why I think this game is a huge game, and it may be being overlooked by some other bigger games rank-wise in the nation. So I'm definitely glad you guys came on. I want to give you guys a chance again to, tell us your social media handles and where they can find you and what you do. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, again, thank you for having us on. You got a tremendous show here, and it's a real honor and a privilege to be on your show. And yeah, just follow us at Fifth Quarter Pitt. Really just looking to put out more consistent information on Pitt and just even keeled. And, any type of support that we get, we are beyond thankful, and just want to thank the Pitt fan base for how they are and for following us and really embracing us. And lucky to live in the city of Pittsburgh where, football is king.
All right. We appreciate you coming on. All right, Carter, you go ahead and give your information of how they can find you, what you do, and all of that good stuff.
Well, I want to echo the same thoughts. Thanks for having us on. This was a fun show, and I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you very much again. As far as our handles, same thing. FQ Virginia Tech at FQ Virginia Tech is our Fifth Quarter Virginia Tech account. So we haven't been doing actually as good of a job this year tweeting during games, and that's just because we're all back in Lane Stadium and the service is terrible in there. So, but we do put out a lot of good content. So podcasts, articles, and then just opinions, polls, tweeting out our thoughts, and just kind of, sharing our love for Virginia Tech football and all Virginia Tech athletics on there as well. Basketball season, we'll have some fun stuff coming around. And then our podcast Twitter is at FQ Gobble 'em Up. So if you want to follow our podcast specific account, go ahead and do that. And then my personal Twitter, if you want to find more stuff, beyond the FQ realm, it's at CBHill_03. But mainly want to plug the FQ account just because I know across the board, a lot of people do a lot of great work over there. It's a great platform, not even just with Virginia Tech, but at Pitt and places around the country, and even our main account, we do a pretty good job, I feel like. So just follow all the accounts as well. I think we're at Fifth Quarter now on Twitter. So if you want to follow the main account, go ahead and do that. And then at CFP Home is the college football home account, which is the main account that runs it all, and it's the college football branch off of Fifth Quarter. So if you want to check out more things involving Fifth Quarter beyond Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh, go ahead and do that as well.
Y'all be sure to get out there and check those guys out, the Fifth Quarter accounts. They definitely put out a lot of good content for all the people out there in YouTube land. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. If you are a Pitt fan and you agree or disagree with anything that Jamie said, get in the comments, let us know. Same thing for the Virginia Tech Hokie fans. If you think Carter doesn't know what he's talking about, or you're on the bandwagon with him, let us know in the comments. I really appreciate you guys again for coming on. And whoever wins this game is going to make it to the ACC Championship. And hopefully I can get you guys back on again to talk a little ACC Championship preview. For Jamie and FQ Pitt and Carter and FQ Virginia Tech, I'm Coach I. This is the Fan Addict, and we are out.